Hello everyone, I'm back today and this is actually something quite unexpected. I really did not think I would cover Rise so soon, but it turns out Capcom decided to drop us with a bombshell and they announced Rise Ultimate next year, summer 2022, and that's so exciting. I'm so excited. It's funny because everything that's been related to Rise has been announced while I am on vacation. 2.0 was on vacation, 3.0 vacation. Now we have Ultimate, also when I was on vacation. But it was pretty funny. It was my wife's birthday and we were in bed by then. And I was just browsing through the phone. And I knew of a Nintendo Direct, but I didn't really give a shit. Who cares? But then I saw this silhouette and when I saw the wrestlers, I went freaking crazy. And I don't know, man, it's so insane. I did not expect this at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was pretty obvious that we would get an ultimate release. Well, not even that because of the backlash that Rise has gotten over the months, but it was pretty safe to admit we were gonna get an ultimate. I just didn't expect when. I knew it was 2022, but when? Holiday season? But turns out that they went even faster than that, and hey, I really appreciate it. Now we just have to wait up until then, but I definitely knew I wanted to make a video on this, just kind of going through some stuff, the trailer, what I think of the flagship, the team, and since everyone has already done this, I decided to I'll talk about some stuff I won't change from Rise to Rise Ultimate, but I'll go over those later. Firstly, I want to say that I'm so excited for this. This feels like something special, honestly. I'll give an example of the latest expansion, Iceborne. When I saw and played Iceborne, yes, it was completely amazing. It's top. It's such a good expansion, but how do I put this? It kind of feels like an extension of Base World. You know, it's still the same world. Hey, we found something. In this case, instead of the new world, it's the new continent, or I don't even know if they call it continent. I think it's too small for that. Just this new place, this island, it's all about the snow and whatnot. Let's go in there, let's explore, see some new subspecies, etc., etc. It felt like the same narrative and the same theme, the same motif. But this one, and what makes it so appealing to me, is that it's a complete 180. Base Rise was all about, yo, Eastern culture and the yokais and this and that. This is a complete 180. This is dark, gothic, it's super scary, it's medieval, which I love. I love this middle-aged motif. It's so amazing. It's just, you have the capacity to go so dark, so I don't know, man. It's hard to explain. You can take the story and put it as something completely different than what Base Rise was. Of course, it's still Monster Hunter, so don't expect an insane story. You'll probably just go to Rondin's kingdom and kill this Dracula shit. But still, man, I just love the setup. They didn't give us any info at all, no character just jumping up and down and saying hi, nothing of the sort, nothing. It's complete dark and gory, and I love it. I mean, the flagship is a freaking vampire, something like that. How can you not love it? And they have so much leeway because it's such a different tone. They have so much creative liberty to do whatever they want, man. And not only do I hope that's with the game in general, with the story and the ambience, but also with a lot of mechanics. I really hope they change a lot. But taking a look at this, well, a lot of people are saying this is Castle Shade. It's not. It's nothing like Shade. Like, I'm looking at the trailer now, and it's nothing like Shade. It seems like something completely different, which of course I appreciate. I love to I don't know, explore Castle Shade as a map one day, but not in Rise Sunbreak. It would have to be its own thing, maybe a remaster of the first Monster Hunter game, that would be really interesting. But not here. This seems like, I'd say, Ronin's Kingdom. We see a mountain there, and actually, when the flagship goes over the pillar, it seems kind of, I don't know, the roof seems kind of like something like a cathedral, like the front or something. So we could really get involved with religion as a story concept, because we pretty much know this is going to be about knights and whatnot, because Ronnie mentioned that the queen's hunters are called knights, and there's a queen. Who knows if there's a king? So this is really going to be some back to the dark ages type shit, which I'm not gonna say I love it once again, but it's true, man. I don't think we've ever seen a Monster Hunter title or expansion with this kind of visual, with this kind of theme. I think it's a first, which is also something that makes me really excited. They're on uncharted territory. They can do whatever they want, and I really want to see their take on this. The flagship looks freaking amazing. It's by design alone, it's my favorite flagship. I mean, I love all three flagships from 5th gen, Nergigante and Ruiner Nergigante. They're amazing. I love the spikes concept. Velcana, I also love the mantle with the ice that it gets. It's also amazing. Then Magnamalo. Magnamalo is a freaking beast. I love how it's this samurai tiger stuff, and the fight's awesome. It's probably my favorite fight in Rise, I'd say, because of how aggressive he is. But this one, in terms of design, it literally looks like a freaking vampire, a Dracula, something like that. And it seems to use this kind of, I don't know if that's dragon energy or vampiric energy. I'm not sure, but I want to find out. And it uses that energy to lure the Rassalos. I think it could be something like something completely new to this monster. As I was saying, vampiric energy. It looks like the Dracophage bugs from Siege and Zinogre, but I doubt that's it. It's not that, of course. But I really think they're gonna introduce some kind of mechanic with this vampiric thing. I think it's some sort of vampiric energy. I mean, dragon energy, come on. You have this opportunity. This monster is Dracula, and you have an opportunity to make something so cool and unique with him, and you just say, oh no, he just uses dragon energy. That's not happening. Something else is that this is definitely an elder dragon. By the looks of it, it has, 4 legs, hind legs, and wings. Usually only elder dragons have that. If you look at bird wyverns and whatnot, none of them, flying wyverns, which are, I'd say, the closest, they usually, they either have the hind legs and wings, or just they don't have wings at all. That's more so for brutes, but you get my point. You rarely see a monster that has 4 legs, hind legs, and wings, so definitely elder dragon. I mean, think about it. Diostra, Kushala, Camilios, Nergigante, Volcana. Those are just a few. And I'm not mentioning earlier ones because this is 5th gen, so a bit past that. We should, if we're trying to find some parallel lines, we should look more so towards the recent past. But it's definitely another dragon. I mean, how can it not be? It looks so powerful. And this whole vampiric thing, you don't make a regular monster with that, honestly. You could say, oh, Magnamalo is not an elder dragon and it has the Hellfire thing, but, well, firstly, Apex Mizu also has that, so it's not that unique, and it's kind of just Blast Blight, pretty much. So, yeah, I definitely think this is going to be an elder dragon. It's quite interesting how you see him sucking on the Rassalos like it's sucking its blood. I'm pretty sure you hear the slurp on the trailer. So we could see something, for example, you would have this monster, you would fight this monster, and then it would go around the map just sucking off blood from other monsters and becoming stronger. That would be epic. That would make something such as, you know, we only need to kill this monster, but let's kill the other ones in the map just so this monster doesn't have the opportunity to suck them and become stronger. That would be such a cool concept that I'm pretty sure it's never been seen before, and it would also be awesome because it would kind of make wyvern riding a minus, or the presence of it. So you can't just, you know, fight the monster, wait for another monster to arrive, and then you can wyvern ride it. No, he's gonna kill the monster and he's gonna get stronger. So that could be such a cool take on a new mechanic for a monster that I really hope they go with something. I just want them to make something so unique. I love this monster so much. I don't even know the name, but I love it already. But something else I'd like to mention is how this might be the cause of the rampages. Well, in this kingdom, because I assume that we're not just gonna drop rampages, right? I mean, I would be indifferent, to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of rampages. They're fun here and there, but God, I'm just glad they're not the end game loop. I would commit self-deletion, avoid the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, we're definitely gonna get rampages. That's certain. They're not just gonna abandon such a big part of the base game. If it was just some augmenting thing on the side like they did with World and the Streamstones, the system was horrible, so they just deleted it or replaced it with a better one. But rampages are too crucial. They're even part of the story. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see them completely abandoning it. At most, it might become a completely optional activity. Like for example, yes, there's still rampages in Kamura, and some new monsters might appear there because I don't know, this Dracula thing is killing all the monsters, so a lot of them are fleeing to Kamura. So we'll see rampages with new monsters, but it won't be an active part of the story. It will just be something on the side. If you wanna do it, sure. If you don't, who cares? But if we have rampages in this new place, this monster is definitely gonna be at least a factor of it. It could be infecting other monsters with his blood sucking or whatever he does. It's blood sucking, of course, and it could be infecting other monsters, which causes them to go crazy. I mean, it could even be a factor in the apexes. I think it's confirmed that the apexes are just prime of their species or something. Like an apex Zinogre is a Zinogre that has lived many battles or something of the sort. But even if that's the case, I could kind of make a plot twist in the expansion, like, hey, you thought this, but after all, it was this monster that was going around and creating apexes. That would be also cool, although I do have a few caveats to the apex system, which I will also go over shortly. But yeah, I think this expansion has all the potential to be the best expansion ever. I'm really excited. And I just really want to see what the team does with this whole motif. For example, I definitely think Odogaron is coming back. It's gonna be like one of the werewolf type things, because this whole expansion is gonna be based on Western yokai, so Loch Ness Monster and werewolves, vampires, goblins, all of that, man. All of those stories you heard when you were a kid about these crazy monsters, they're gonna be here, and I really want to see their take on this, because the Monster Hunter team, as they never touched this area, so I can imagine all the ideas flowing through their heads. Oh, it's gonna be amazing. Some good news, I didn't mention this, I wanted to mention it at the beginning of the video, but got too excited. It seems that they're going to make this release on the same day for both Switch and PC, which also makes me happy because I definitely want to cover Sunbreak in the future, but currently there's no Rise PC. There's just not. They're still waiting to release that information, which honestly I think will be done tomorrow. I think they'll just do it at the Tokyo Game Show. I'm pretty sure they will. It's October, man. Well, not yet, but it's almost October. And they said early 2022. How much longer can you wait before announcing a date? So hopefully they will announce it. I definitely want to buy it and double dip. I hope, please, I hope that there's this sort of cross save. I don't even care about crossplay, but cross save. Let me freaking get my Switch data and play it on PC. It probably won't. You could say for many reasons, because Nintendo doesn't want to give info to Steam or whatever. I mean, you don't even need to pass the save. You could just, I don't know, have an option on your Switch version of, hey, generate this. Wait a minute. Had a strong sneeze, sorry. They could just make this like code. Hey, click here, generate this code, and you get this code, and then which is encrypted. So you then pass the code to your Steam version, and you get all of your save data. You don't even need to have, you don't even need to pass files from Switch to PC. Just have the code generated, boom, good to go. Something of the sort, man, because it sucks. For me, not as much. With Rise, I've played around 350 hours. I was at 300, but then I decided to replay Rise once again to get the complete experience. Not this whole 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, none of that garbage. So I replayed it. And yeah, it's definitely a better experience, and it's amazing as a base game. But then you get to the end, and we all know, we've all seen the Monster Hunter Rise is Dead videos and this and that. Yeah, we've all seen it. We know what the issues are. But it sucks investing so many hours, especially some people. I heard some people are on 1,000 hours, man, and then to start it all again. Especially if you're someone who uses a lot of weapons. Come on, man. I have so many weapons in my file. I don't want to make all the dual blades, switch axes, charge blades, light bow guns. I was doing some sword and shield. I've been in love with sword and shield lately. I don't want to make all of that. I still want to try more weapons because I've always been the dual blades main, but now I'm branching. But it's, and then you need all those gems again, which were a pain to farm. So I hope there's a way for us to transfer the save file, but there won't at all. I mean, unless you crack it and whatnot, but that's not relevant here. But yeah, it's coming out on the same day, which is amazing. I'm especially surprised because this was announced. This opened Nintendo Direct. So it seems that Nintendo is so very much invested into Rise. So for them to just allow PC and Switch to come out on the same day, I don't know, maybe some inner relations between Capcom and Nintendo that we don't know of. Which I wouldn't even be surprised. I don't like Nintendo. I'll stick to that. But in either case, now I want to move on from this, given my thoughts on the PC and Switch release, which is amazing. Love it. Can't wait for it. Hopefully there will be cross save, because if not, I've got a long grinding session. I might just raw all the way up until I get to the end, just to make it faster. But I hope there is. It's amazing that it's coming out at the same time in summer. Good time frame. We have almost a year. Expected a bit longer, like holiday season, but hey, I'll take it. After that, I also mentioned, just going over the flagship, a bit of the trailer. I mean, everyone's done this. Everyone's been over the trailer, over the flagship, the locale. I mean, I won't be bringing anything new to the table. I kind of just want to focus more on what I want from Rise Ultimate that is currently lacking in Rise. Now, as for this, I'll actually not restrict myself, but kind of, there will be two things I don't count. Well, it's not that I don't count, it's everyone has mentioned them. Harder difficulty and endgame loop. Everyone and their mother has said this. So there's no value in me repeating what they said. They probably said it 10 times better than I could ever have. I mean, I know they have. Just go watch Ratatosker's video on this, on the critique of Rise. He puts everything perfectly into detail, so go do that. He'll explain the issues with no endgame loop and how bad it is that the game is easy. But I want to focus more so on mechanical standpoints, you know, like skills and some monsters and whatnot. So let's get into this. I will start with the first one, which now I think it will be only for the expansion, but I really expected this to be a part of the base game, and I'm really surprised it hasn't. And that is the inclusion of subspecies. I was so amazed when the backlash after 3.0 started, but there's no endgame, there's no endgame loop, it's too easy. I was expecting so hard for a 4.0 expansion where it would a 4.0 update where it would just be subspecies, variants, all of that, man. You want more monsters? Take them. Because if you look at it, it's not that hard, I'd say. You already have everything in the engine. You have the bases for the subspecies, which are the monsters. If you have a Rathalos, it's not that harder to make an Rathalos. Part of it is just tweaking the values, like more HP, more power break, more damage, which I don't know that much about programming, but I know that when it's just tweaking values, just increasing or decreasing, it's not that hard. So they could have done this, add a couple new attacks. This could have been done, and I really think it was I was gonna say a swear word, an error on their end. They screwed up with this, because if they did this, they could even do it like, I don't know, August or something, because we got it in May. Yes, 3.0 was in May. They could have done this in August, like have fun with the complete game. From this, it's gonna be new content. And around mid-August or something, they would just drop a new batch of subspecies, get Pinkracian, Brutigrex, Jurassilos. That would be so awesome, give us more weapons and armor to farm with the materials, new monsters, new challenges. It would really keep us occupied for a good long time. Imagine if they did this for, I don't know, 6 or 7 monsters. I need to open the Monster Hunter Rise the list. I mean, I'll try it. Let's see. Let's see how many of these monsters could have some subspecies. Most popular weapon, everyone knows it's the freaking longsword. God, I hate longsword. I'm joking. I hate the people who made it. It's wrong, not the people who use it. I'm not even joking. That weapon seriously needs a nerf. And I hope, God, I hate how everything is just about ads nowadays. I tried to open a website, see something quick, and they just... God. Alright, let's see. Anjanath, Vulgar Anjanath, Barrios, Sand Barrios, and Frostfang Barrios, Barad, Crystal Barroth, Basilgiz, Seething Basilgiz, Basarius, Ruby Basarius, Diablos, Black Diablos, although no, keep Black Diablos, I hate that monster. Kazu, Red Kazu. Let's see what else. Nargacuga, Green Nargacuga, Puke, Coral Puke, Rathalos, Azure Rathalos. Could even go with Silver Rathalos, but that's Master Rank shit. Rathian, Pink Rathian, and then Gold, but Master Rank shit. Royal Ludros, Purple Royal Ludros, Tigrex, Root Tigrex, Molten Tigrex, hopefully he'll be back in Master Rank. Tobikadachi, Viper Tobikadachi. So, Zinogre, Stygian Zinogre, how did they not have Stygian Zinogre? I named like what? I didn't count them, but more than 10. So take this into account. Even with all these possibilities, you could not even add all of them. You want to keep, let's say, Siege Zinogre, Brute Tigrex for Master Rank because they're tougher enemies. Sure, keep them, but give us some of them. And once again, we would have a plethora of armors and weapons to craft. We would have maybe more decorations to craft. Just newer monsters, they could be harder, or they should be harder. So that would also shut up the people that complain the game is too easy. And it would not be that much work, and they would save a lot of space because the issue now is that a lot of people just they either sold the game, they gave it away, they're not picking it up anymore. I know people who sold their Switch because they bought the game, they were in extreme hype, and then they were like, well, I don't have much to do. Who wants to buy my Switch for 100 euros? When something like this could have been a major band-aid. But that won't be the case, so I'll hope they add most of them in Master Rank and Sunbreak. The only way for them not to do it was if they were trying to make Rise not have any subspecies or variants or rare species. I could see them doing that to kind of keep the monster more original, so there's not two versions of Rathalos. Although there's already, for example, Apex Rathalos, But I could see them looking at things that way, experimenting. But honestly, don't do that. In fact, they already broke that promise if they had one because Prisman Glow Valstrax is a variant. It's not the original Valstrax. So they already put the variant in the game. So why will they not put the rest? Or why did they not put the original Valstrax if that's what they were trying to do? So this to me indicates either they're gonna put them in Master Rank, which I hope they do, or we just won't see them, which will be a big disappointment. I love some of the gear on those monsters, and I love some of the fights. Who doesn't love Molten Tigrex? Or even Brute. I love Brute Tigrex, and I want to see him. And I think it would fit in Sunbreak with the darker tone. It's already a freaking monster. It could fit, but hopefully they will. I mean, the dream come true would be for them to do that before Sunbreak, because I don't want. I've already seen a bit of this, and I disagree. I don't think that just because we're getting Sunbreak means we could just abandon Rise completely. Which, once again, if that's their view on Complete Rise, the way that it is right now, fine, and that's completely fine. But at least a bit more with event quests, so we can have a bit more fun and be more distracted. But fighting a regular Diostra just in a different location and you get nothing as a result, or one sticker, or like they did with Kushala, literally nothing. Not even, I don't know, maybe more rares, more chances for the gem, nothing like that. At least do more to keep us entertained. Because I do not see in any way, shape, or form for them to do substantial update before Sunbreak. I think this is their view of Complete Rise. And that's okay if that's the way they see it, but then they'll have to understand why people are disappointed with it. But in either case, I really hope they add subspecies. They could be amazing fights, and I can't wait to see. Maybe we'll, not maybe, definitely, we will definitely see some new subspecies. Oh, I can't wait. The subspecies of Gossarag. Holy man, give me all of that. But I really think that they will add them. And I hope that they are good fights. I hope they're not just... I don't know, man. It's a concern that I have about Rise in general, but this is not the video, never mind. It's not the video for me to be talking about this. Anyway, let's move on from subspecies. Next one. I would love a rework of the wirebug system. More so of the Silkbind skill. Why? They're too powerful in my opinion, especially some of them. And There's a couple ways to do this. Firstly, you could do something like in GU where you just use Hunter Arts, and it's pretty much just hit the monster enough, you'll get them. I do think Silk Pine moves should be more in line with the Hunter Arts, as in it should be special when you use them, not just oh, I'm gonna use my Metsu Shurigeki, boom, 30 seconds again, gonna use it again, and it's just a regular part of your toolkit. I think the weapons themselves have more than enough depth to be good as a standalone without the need of having a freaking wirebuck skill every couple of seconds, especially with some weapons like with dual blades. Man, I counter everything with Shrouded Vault. I'm constantly countering, and maybe they were short-sighted because it seems when I play with two wirebucks, it seems a bit more balanced, but they probably just forgot the fact that the best skill in the game, Summon Neondemic Life, exists. So you're constantly playing at 3 wirebucks, and I feel like they balanced the game for 2. Although even for 2 it's a bit ridiculous. But with 3 wirebucks, it's you're spamming them all the time. And considering how flashy some of they are, like look at Axe Hopper. That should be a finisher. That's I'd say it's as epic, if not more, than Super Amped Elemental Discharge. I mean, you smash the monster with your axe, go into the air, and do a Super Amped Elemental Discharge. Come on, man! And that's just something you can use regularly. Why? Or since we're on Charge Blade, counter peak performance. How ridiculous is that move? I love it. I spam it, of course, but it's so stupid. What it does, ah, it's it's too much value for some of these moves to be used so constantly. It's straight up ridiculous. And counter peak performance, Matsu, Shrouded Vault is completely broken for the dual blades, in my opinion. I really think it's broken. Most counters are stupid, but Shrouded Vault, the fact that it gives you mobility, so even if you don't counter, you still get movement, and then you do some good damage. I've tested damage, and it's quite nice. In fact, you can change the location, not the location, but the direction. Yes, the direction in which you go. 1 wirebug, the recovery is fast. It's ridiculous, and I feel I feel like people don't value switch skills, Silk Pine moves as much, or not that they completely value it. What I mean is, I feel like it's not as baffling to them. It's not a super cool mechanic anymore. It's just something you do. And I feel that's the cause of us being able to spam them so much. I can just do whatever, man. Especially with, as I was saying, the summon Neondemic Life, it becomes so ridiculous. I've shrouded vaulted an attack of like three moves, yeah. Just completely countered a sequence from a monster. Add that to the fact you can already just use the wire dashes in battle to get some quick distance from the monster. I think wire bugs, especially wire bug skills, are too powerful. Now, what I would say for this, it probably, I feel like with how fast Rise is, you'd also have no issue using them regularly if it's just a matter of hitting the monster. Everything's so quick, you're constantly hitting the monster if you know what you're doing. It's not like GU, which is slower, more deliberate, where you need to plan where you're going to attack and whatnot, so it takes a while to fill. Here it's just bam 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 and it's full. I think it's just a longer cooldown of like 1 minute. I think that would be ideal. That way you can have a good rotation of wirebugs, of the cheaper wirebug skills like your shrouded vault, although once again completely broken, but I digress. You would not be able to spam it. But those ones you could still use like 2 times in 1 minute, and the longer ones, like Serene Pose, you can use them 1 time per minute at the most fastest rate. I mean, I definitely think that's decent. It makes Wirebug more important and more impactful in the game. It also brings more planning and consideration into what you're doing. So let's see, should I use my Metsu now? Is it a good time? But I can't really guard point. I was trying to say 3 words at the same time. I can't really guard point this move very well. The timing is weird, so I'll just dodge, save it for later so I can get guaranteed damage. No, those kinds of decisions that, in my opinion, make Monster Hunter such a fantastic game. The fact that it's action with a lot of planning and consideration into your actions, and would just make this less of a button mashing festival, which I think is the case with Rise right now. It would also give a lot of value to Wirebug Whisper. Why do I need to use Wirebug Whisper? Because level 3 reduces the cooldown. There's some fine moves. But why would I use that when I can already spam so fine moves? Why? What's the point? I could just use, I don't know, Weakness Exploit or Critical Boost. Who cares? So it would also bring more value to that skill, which I would really appreciate because it's a cool skill, but why would I use it? There's little to no point. But that's my take on them. I think just a big cooldown, 1 minute, would be ideal. I mean, yeah, I know that Rise is fast, so 1 minute seems like a lot, but that just means you can't spam Helmbreaker, and I think that's good. Make your weapon itself, the moveset of the weapon, more important. I feel that's not really the case that much anymore, because some weapons just rely on their skill find so much because they're so easy to use. So I don't know, man. I really hope this is one of the changes I want the most. I'm not even joking. This above pretty much everything else. It's just a shame, man. There's so many options you can do with your weapons, so many cool combos, but why do that when you can spam Helmbreaker or whatever? You know, I definitely feel. I think I will say that I think they will do a change to the Wirebug system. I don't know, but I truly do think this because just go watch any speedrun or just normal gameplay. You'll see how much people spam Wirebugs, and I hope the team is aware of this and they bring longer cooldowns to Wirebug skills. Of course, Wirefall would also be cool to have a big cooldown. So pretty much anything that you do with Wirebugs in battle gets a longer cooldown. If you're just using them to climb, that's fine, but in battle there's a cooldown, and I don't know, maybe the Wirebugs, maybe they sense danger so they take longer to cool down, something of the sort, something like that. I love that, and I hope that's a feature in Rise. And now we are going to the next one. This is more so related to your buddies, and it's kind of 2-in-1. The first one is Palamute utility. Now, I'm not bashing on Palamutes, they're amazing, but I feel they fall short, the Palicos. The reason being, first of all, they don't even have active skills. They have their gear, but it's not the same thing. It's not gear, it's not skills that they use frequently. It's just once in a while, which actually takes a bit. I don't know, maybe I'm just not paying attention, but they don't seem to use the gear that much. And there's no command, for example, with felines, with Palicos. You can just use the Felvine and they'll use their abilities more frequently. With Palamutes, that doesn't exist. You're just kind of, well, okay, we'll hope you'll use it soon. And something else is they're kind of just not. I don't really like them. I feel they're not that useful in my opinion. The umbrella is really good, and there's one that they start with, which is kind of like the mouthpiece, not the one that you know makes a part of the monster's body take more damage. No, it's a starting one where they bite it and the monster's like flinch. That one's nice. It has saved me a lot of times when I'm gonna get smashed. But aside of that, the scrolls are they're not that useful in my opinion. I've tested around with some of them and tried to pay attention, and they didn't really have any impact. Whereas the Pelco skills, they completely changed the game. You build sets around Pelco skills. I mean, I never drank a dash juice in my life in Rise because of the go fight win skill. There's just never a need. Well, Archdemon mode isn't completely horseshit in this game, so that also helps. But I'm always having, not always, but almost always having the dash juice effect. So why would I need to drink it? It's more than enough. And Summon Neondemic Life literally changes a battle. Rousing Roar, I've made sets, not just me, a lot of people made sets about it. I remember in 2.0 where everyone just went from Nargacuga weapons to Tigrex weapons plus Rousing Roar because you just got back all the affinity you lost, especially for speedruns. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I think that's it. And that's more than half the fight. And the Palamute just doesn't have this. As I said, yeah, they're fast at inflicting statuses, but if you're using two Pelicans, you'll probably get them almost at the same time, maybe a bit later, but you'll still get them. So I hope we see a new take on the system of Palamutes. I know I've seen a lot of people say this, but I love for them to be able to inflict blights. So Fire Blight, the Elemental Blights to be more precise. Fire Blight, Water Blight, Thunder Blight, Ice Blight, Dragon Blight. Yeah, it could potentially break the game, but I mean, I don't think it would. If it's for a short period of time, I think it would be fine. And you already have the beetles, so you can see the effect that blights have on a monster. And I quite simply don't think they would be game breaking, and they would also give way more utility to something that we never see, which is the I was gonna say Fire Blight. Well, yeah, Fire Blight exploit, Water Blight exploit, the ramp up skills from these weapons. No one uses them because it's such a short amount of time you have with the beetles. If you're even in a map that has beetles, why would you use this? So the Palmit using Blights would be so cool because you would have that synergy where the skill of the Palmit would directly affect the way you make your weapons, the way you make your build, how you approach the fight. Save the Wirebug skills for when the monster is blighted, so you'll do extra damage. That simple change would be so different for a battle. And there's more you can do with them. But as for me, just that would be enough. Being able to inflict blights, because that would also give utility to a skill that is completely useless right now. Because there's no Y Force inflict blight outside of the beetles. The beetles are for a couple of seconds and you can't use them again. So no one's gonna use that shit. So I hope Palamutes become better. In this regard, at least more versatile, just like Pelicos. And the other thing that's also within this topic is more so related to the buddy system as a whole. We need to start learning skills, at least passives. I can deal with shuffling active skills, but passives are horrible. I can tell you the amount of times I went to see a Palico, especially Palicos, man, because Palamute, especially with that the Thor Palamute, you got every single offensive skill you could want. So why do you need to roll for another Palamute? You don't. But as for Pelicans, they're horrible, man, because you want a good assist, a good bomber, a good gatherer is mandatory. a good fighter. A good fighter, in my opinion, is also mandatory. And you need to go through both the active skills and the passive skills, which is horrible. The combinations are just, they're horrible, horrible. I hate that system because it's completely random. You have no touch. You have no way of increasing or decreasing odds for anything, and that's what I hate the most. Completely random system. At least in world with decorations, at least you could fight some specific tempered monsters to receive a specific type of fight stone. Here it's just completely random. You don't know. You just do not know what you're gonna get with the battle buddies. And I think that's a big issue, especially with Sunbreak. We might get more types of Pelicos, I doubt that, but definitely more skills for Pelicos, more active skills, maybe more passive skills. And Jesus, how hard is it gonna be to get a good Pelico or the perfect Pelico? I mean, what if I want the perfect Pelico? Why should I be punished so much for it? So that's definitely something I hope they change. I don't know. Make it so that you need to give rare items for them to learn the skills. I don't care. I'll farm a gym if I can get status attack up on my Pelico. I'll do that. I'll seriously do it. So please make this less of an RNG fiesta. We have enough. Now, as for my next topic, oof, this one is this one touches me a lot because I use roleplays. We need better elemental damage. What we have right now is ridiculous, man. There's no reason at all for me to make an elemental weapon when the raw weapons are so good. I mean, look at Nargacuga weapons. Everyone's already using them. People use Nargacuga weapons in speedruns. Who cares? Or Tigrex with Frozen Roar. There's just no reason for them not to. First, just look at the course of the main game. You need to farm a ton of monsters, you need to farm decorations, then you need to get into the gyms to upgrade the weapons. All of this. And you can just, I don't know, grab an ore weapon or just a decent raw weapon and just breeze through the story. Rise is already easy as it is. So then why would you need to craft elemental weapons? There's no point. Raw weapons do the same. Especially if you add some blast in there, oh, you're good to go. I'll just use a Gyostra sword and shield. I don't need to use anything else. Well, its raw is weak, but you get my point. But, for example, when I was replaying Rise, for the second half of the game, I just used Nargacuga. Once I hit high rank, when I was low rank, I was still playing around with the weapons because, you know, I wanted to see how the base of the trees looked and see the designs. But then once I got into high rank, I was like, well, it's been fun. Nargacuga, sword and shield, and that's it. And I went through it until I got to the ninja sword, and then I finished the game like that. I didn't need to make any elemental weapon. The difference is negligible, honestly. I've done some testing, and yeah, you're hitting harder, but not enough. It will never compensate the amount of time you waste getting, let's say, I don't know, a Kushaladara gem. You spent like 1 hour getting it to make the Kushaladara sword and shield. To do a bit more damage, instead of finishing the hunt in 10 minutes, you finish it in 9:30. Wow. And once again, since the game's already so easy, why would I need to make elemental weapons? It was the same in World until they added Elatraeon, because they were like, well, we need to make them use elemental, but that should not be the case. The elemental should get buffed, or raw should get nerfed. Actually, that's close to the topic I have soon, but I honestly just prefer to have elemental buffed. I mean, we're at the end of Bits Rise, and the values here, you have like 30 something ice elemental, 40. That's nothing, man. That's zero. And something that pisses me off even more is that now with the Hunter's notes, can actually see how shit the elemental values are. Man, why do you make a why do you make an ability such as the element exploit? You know, deals it as a ton of damage. It's an added 25% elemental damage to, or is it 30? I think it's 30% added elemental damage to the spot where the elemental value is 25 or above. Yeah, but barely any monsters have that. It's all 10, 15, maybe 20 here and there. And the areas that have 25, they're shit for hitting. So you're gonna do piss damage anyway. You're gonna do a ton of elemental damage, but your raw is gonna be shit because it's like a 20 area. So yeah, like the Nargacuga, the Rise Wings, 65 Thunder Element, but the hit zone is like 20. Wow, amazing. So I guess it will be useful to target with the elemental discharges of a Charge Blade, but what else, man? So that really annoys me, and yeah, I'm getting a bit mad because I like elemental. I like, I've played RPG since I was a kid, and I love the idea of, oh, let's adapt to this enemy. He's weak to water, so let's use some water on him. Just kind of change it up. But here it's like, just use raw, man. There's no point. You don't need to waste decoration slots on elemental attacks. It's oh, I was gonna say something. Something that also annoys me to hell and back with this whole elemental thing is that you give us bad hit zones for elemental, and then when you look at the weapons raw, you look at the Jolly Soul, you look at the weapon, there's amazing ice, but it has green sharpening, which means the elemental value shit. So they keep doing this, man. Or the final Zinogre dual blades, they have good elemental, but they're blue sharpness, and you need Handicraft 5 to get to a good elemental modifier. Oh, and crit element, man. Crit element, I'm not sure if it doesn't work or if it's bugged or something. When I first saw it, because there's a video, if I find it, I'll link in the description. There's this video where the dude made some calcs and he showed the values. Critical element barely added anything. It's horrible. It's actually horrible, the pitiful damage it does. When I saw this, I thought, maybe later down the line they're gonna make some busted elemental weapons. So that's why the crit element is so weak. It's level 3, it's 15%. In world it was 25%. That's not even mentioning true crit element. But then they just didn't. Everything just was kept at low values, so what's the point, man? Or at least have weapons that have really good raw and decent elemental. But no, they just... It's always like this, man. I don't understand why they struggle so much with finding a balance in elemental and raw. It's so frustrating. And as I said before, what's the point? In Sunbreak, if I see the same issue, I'm just gonna raw all of it. Especially, I'm a dual blades main, so I mean, here Nargacuga dual blades are amazing. So are Tigrex's. So Tigrex dual blades are stupid. They have Silkpine boost as well. Those Shrouded Vaults do way too much damage. But yeah, I really hope they buff elemental, either increase the parts of the monsters. That would also make element exploit much better, or just add the values of the weapons, man. Like, make the weapons have more elemental damage, because when your average is like 30 something or 40 at the end of the game, it should be above 50, man, but it's just not. I think Rampage weapons, they get to 40 something elemental with all the boosts from the decorations. But I really hope they rework elemental. I'm pretty sure they did the same in World. Like in World, elemental was pretty dung. in base, and then it became a bit better in Iceborne, but still, no point, man. But anyway, that's it. Rant over, I hope. I just want them to increase elemental damage. As for the next one, sorry for the interruption, had something to do. Anyway, as I was saying, next, more unique rampage skills. In this case, I'd love for them to be a bit more creative. A lot of the skills are just add more attack, add more affinity, add more defense. It gets a bit boring because that's augmentation. You know, ramp up skills should be something different. For example, the Kushaldaura weapons are amazing, and the reason being because you can just use the what's the name? Repeat offender, which now is something else. The name, but that increases your crit when you hit the monster. That's really cool. That changes the way you play. Well, kind of, but kind of changes the way you play. Or the dual blades, the Hellion mode, where it's a completely different playstyle for a weapon. We definitely need more of that. We need more unique ramp up skills that change the way we play, the way we approach our builds. And honestly, it gets a bit boring when we get to the end of a tree. Let's see. Oh, my best option is attack boost +4. Wow, or +6. Amazing. This is definitely something I really want them to implement much better. Also, something else I don't understand, for example, why is the element exploit pretty much unique to Restless 3? Why don't we have it on more weapons or on more trees? So that means you're just going to default to Restless fire weapons. That should not be the case. We should have definitely more variety, and I really hope they start looking at this in a different way to see. We already have Silk Pine moves which change how weapon plays, but now let's take it a step further and let's make the ramp up skills really unique. I can guarantee you that would add so much longevity to the game, because within Charge Blades, I don't know, just an example, with this Charge Blade you have this really cool mode. Let's just an example. Let's say that X mode was the spinning X mode. I forgot the name. Was exclusive. Was a ramp up skill exclusive to a weapon. Maybe it's a bit too much, but you get my point. That would be a completely different way to make a weapon, and you would have to actually look. Oh, these weapons have similar stats, but I like this one because it does this, but this one because it does that. It would be quite a good implementation of the ramp up system. As of right now, it's just too boring. It's just, oh, attack boost, alright. Oh, +6 thunder attack. Oh, that's it. And as I was mentioning on my elemental part, how, for example, element exploit is a bit useless in a lot of cases. Well, in this situation, it could be much better if it was on more weapons. But as of right now, it's a bit too boring. For example, the Kyostra one is also nice, but it's just a simple increase to your blast damage. Wow, you're gonna be playing exactly the same way you play. It's literally just a booster. Just make augments. If we're going through that route, just make augments and ramp up skills. They're too boring, man. Something that could also be really cool is if you started adding just directly skills to these weapons. So let's say you have this weapon that you have two raw weapons. They both have bad sharpness, like the Diablo's weapons. Imagine you have two Diablo's weapons. As you know, high raw, bad sharpness, so that's it. But one of them has a ramp up skill that's Mind's Eye level 2. So this weapon has Mind's Eye level 2 innately. You don't need to slot for it. You can slot one Mind's Eye to get up to level 3. But you already have a jump start that would also give you more freedom with decorations. So you don't need to slot in the same old 3 Mind's Eye decorations on that weapon. Now you can do something else like Stamina Surge or something of the sort. Give us more diversity, and yes, it could be a bit broken, but it can be balanced. It can be perfectly balanced out. You can make the weapon that has Mind's Eye not as strong, but it has innate Mind's Eye, so there's a benefit to using it. Whereas if you wanna just go as much raw as you can, and hits aren't a problem in that fight, you go with the other one. this could be perfectly balanced, in my opinion, if they put the time into it. Yes, it might take a bit of time to program, because it's really easy to step the line to broken. Imagine you have like innate crit plus 2 on a decently good weapon. No one's gonna use anything else. But it's just a way, or have a ramp up skill that inflicts elemental blights. That would also be amazing. If you could, the fire blast, fire blight exploit. Let's say not only do you get increased damage when you hit a monster with fire blight, you can also inflict it. Yes, it might seem like just a boost, but at least it's different. It adds fire blight, so with that you can do other things. Just an example, but be a bit more creative with them. I think it would increase the longevity of the game so much. Like, once again, the healing clause, the I forgot the name. I think that's the name. But with Hellion mode, it's so cool. I made an Hellion mode build, and I love that it was, of course, crit boost level 3. You can just go full attack. You don't need to worry about any of the crit skills outside of crit boost, of course. But just go full raw. You can add a lot of comfort in there. I had Marathon Runner, and I also had a bit of Firebug Whisper or something. I also saw something say they used stun resistance because they were so aggressive, because you're kind of on a time limit while you're in demon mode, that you're more prone to get hit, so they had stun resistance 3. That's awesome. That's a new type of building that would be really appreciated in the game, and I really hope they go forward with this. Another one a bit similar but completely different, a rework of the Apex system. Now, in my opinion, what they should do in Sunbreak is just erase Apexes. That's a Komura thing, and introduce a new type of more interesting monster, more interesting, harder monster. Apexes are boring in my opinion. They're just a darker reskinning of the monsters you already have, but stronger. Wow. But I don't know, why can't Apex Zinogre just be a Thunderlord Zinogre? I'm not gonna get into the Deviant talk. I think Capcom is being super stupid with not making use of the Deviants. They are a lot of people have their favorite monster as a Deviant, and they're completely different in the way they work, and completely different design. So I think they're stupid for not taking the most of it. I think they have a gold mine there, but they're quite simply just not using it because Capcom has his idea of everything must be new or something. But I mean, deviants they're not a new mechanic. Deviants are not mentals, they're monsters. And the first mistake was them not putting deviants in if they wanted to go with this whole Apex kind of monster that's I don't know, an Arzuros much stronger than other Arzuros. Red Helm, that's it. You don't need. It's pointless to be creative. Well, it's not pointless, it's always good, but it's unnecessary to try and be creative to that point where you're just gonna make a watered down version of a system you already have. And Deviants have their own weapons and armors. Apexes don't. Now, I'm not one of those people who thinks that if they added armor and weapons for Apexes, everything would be solved. People just farm them for 2 days and have everything, and then they would still complain. But I do think they should have armor and weapons, although I don't think they would be that interesting because, once again, Apexes are just a darker reskinning of the regular monsters. They're not that interesting as monsters, that appealing visually. But they could do something. I don't know. They could, for example, no, I do know. They could just make it so when you're at the end of a tree, let's say you're at the end of Xenogre's tree, before you get to the final upgrade of the weapon, you had a branching path of the Apex Xenogre tree, where the regular Xenogre weapon could have a ton of thunder damage, but super weak. There's like 150 raw. The Apex Xenogre one could be different, could be the opposite. It could have more on the bad side of elemental, but it could be really well built in raw. It could have like 200 and something raw. So that kind of balancing, or maybe some have higher affinity, some can inflict an elemental blight. Yes, I'm really focused on elemental blights. I think it's a missed opportunity. But they have room to play around just with stats of weapons. One of them could have 300 raw, but have green sharpness. Stuff like that. They could really implement this in a better way, and I'm kind of sad they haven't. They could also link the armor skills to the apexes, like something similar to latent power. The longer you stay in a fight, the stronger you become, because you know apexes are supposed to be monsters who endure many fights. So let's say after 3 minutes you get a small boost in attack and defense. After 10 minutes you get another one. After 15 you get another one. Something like that. They do have the room for making the apex system more appealing. Although in my opinion, as I said, just replace them. Just have another type of stronger monster mechanic. Because the thing with apexes is because there's not much of a point to farm for them. There's not much of a point to fighting them. That means you're not completely deep into their mechanics because there's no mechanic. I mean, there's the rampage thing, but I mean, come on. You're literally getting one different material to upgrade a weapon that doesn't even belong to the monster. So since there's no investment in the apex system, you could simply replace it. But I hope they do something with apexes. Or just make them visually different, man, but always the same type of dark skin with some, I don't know, red veins or whatever they are. Dude, for how many monsters are you gonna slap on that design? Something about the apexes needs to change. The next one. This one's a bit shorter, but it's a system that it's been in previous games, so I don't know why it's not here. Linking radial menu loadouts to item loadouts. This is especially frustrating if you're a Bogan user. I can tell you how many times I was switching around, especially if you use elemental Bogan. I do. And I can tell you how many times, I don't know, I was using a sticky light Bogan and then I go to a fire light Bogan, but I don't change the loadout. So now it's a mess and I need to change the radial menu and configure and whatnot. Why isn't this like in Roll? You could do an item loadout linked to a radial menu, and when you use the item loadout, it just asks you, do you want to use the radial menu? Yes, perfect, link. Do you? No. Alright, stay as the same. I don't understand why this isn't in the game, and I hope it comes back as a quality of life feature. This is quality of life, and it's simply baffling how they didn't, especially with how much thought they put into gunning in general. In Rise, they did so many changes for gunning that I'm amazed they didn't do this. But I really think they'll add this in Sunbreak. It's just maybe they forgot, or they were experimenting with something, or maybe they could not get the code right at the time, although they did it in World, but different platforms, so I digress. And the last one, the 8th, technically 10th, because as I said, not counting our difficulty and endgame loop, but of course they're still here on the list. I want that. I just won't mention them. And the 10th. A nerf to crit meta. I hate crit meta. And it's present in literally every single Monster Hunter game. It's exhausting, man. Every single game, every single expansion, and every single time we're always chasing the same skills. Weakness exploit, critical boost, crit eye. Those are the crux, the trifecta, the exodia. And they just haven't made any effort to change it. Weakness exploit still insane. The flat 50% with the already added crit eye you have. And then crit boost, which increases up to 15% at level 3 is ridiculous, man. Why would I use, once again, going back to the element versus raw, why would I bother trying to use element or anything else for that fact if my damage output is so big with just this? Why don't I just grab a raw weapon with good sharpness, and I'm good to go. I'll have the same loadout for most fights. And it pisses me off, honestly, especially because people people look at these skills and they put them mindlessly. They don't care about anything else. It's because they're so good. They work so well in combination that once again there's no point in using anything else. Even in elemental builds or other builds, you'll still fit them somehow. Even if you're using fire, a fire build, if you need to sacrifice a couple of points into fire attack to put weakness exploit, you will, because it's that good. Of course, there are some instances, well, sticky. The only instances that I'm remembering are sticky and for elemental discharge, if you're using charge blade SAD style. Those are the only instances I'm remembering where you don't use the skills, because they're just all about the raw. And the solution, well, in my opinion, I just get rid of weakness exploit and critical boost. I think those skills are toxic to get to the game. They're toxic to the other skills, honestly. But that won't happen. They won't get rid of the skills. And you know there will be people bitching, oh, why did you remove this? I can do my 3-minute run now. But especially from a more casual standpoint of playing, it really takes away from building. And it's just the same as with elemental. Yes, you can choose not to use them, but man, maybe I don't have 5 hours per day, so I can spend 30 minutes fighting a monster. Especially when I'm farming for gems. I don't have that luxury. I need the pace of the game to be decently fast. And these skills, they just outright invalidate anything else. As I said before, you can just use these 3 skills and you are good to go. You don't even need attack boost. You literally don't need attack boost. On my builds that I use these skills, which is most of them, of course, because as I said, the opportunity cost of not using them is too big. I barely have any attack boost. The raw in base Rise is good enough for you not to need attack boost. Maybe I'll have a level 2 or something, but it's negligible. Now, as I said before, in my idea I would just get rid of weakness exploit and critical boost, but that's not realistic. I don't even think getting rid of one skill is realistic, especially when they've been around for so long. But I don't know, I'd probably get rid of weakness exploit if I could. Yes, you keep crit boost, but the thing is, well, but then you have the Palico Rosin. But that's different because then you're going deep into the playstyle. You're not just slapping these skills on every build because you can. But I'd get rid of weakness exploit because the flat out bonus is too much. Yes, I need to work on it for it technically, but it's easy enough. Just hit the weak point. It's easy enough. Some people like to say, oh, but you need to, and that's hard. It's not. It's not. Monsters have more than one weak point generally. It's not just the head. But yeah, I'd get rid of weakness exploit. The increase in affinity is too big. 50% is way too much. But that would still mean that, for example, Nargacuga weapons or Barioth weapons could still use these skills because they have innate high affinity. But that's fine because it's just a couple of weapons, so it's fine to add crit boost because they have low raw but they have high affinity, so you can stack crit boost on top of that and you can use affinity builds. Affinity becomes a build. So that would be the best outcome in my opinion. It would create another type of strategy, which is affinity, and it would not make everyone just slap this because there's no affinity build. Honestly, in my opinion, there's no affinity build because these skills are mandatory. There's no build if everything's the build, I mean, just say for Tigrex weapons, for example, yes, you have a specific type of build where you just stack 7 crit eye, but for most of the weapons, no. These are just automatic skills. If I can't get rid of any of them, well, I'd probably nerf the hell out of weakness exploit. I'd make it 10, 20, 30. 30 is already good, man. 30 affinity, especially with Rosin Roar from Pelicos. That's more than good enough. But the way it is right now, 50 just from that. I mean, think about it. 50, then the buff from Pelicos is 30, 80 automatically. That's a ton. That's way too much. And then just add a couple of crit eye and get 100%. Or if the weapon already has just 10% is enough. Already makes the entire difference. And in the end, I really hope they do something about this. I don't think they will. They haven't done anything about these skills for the longest time. In fact, in Iceborne, they buffed critical eye. It was 30% at level 7. Now it's 40. So they even buffed crit meta. The skills are still level 2 slots, but something like Mushromancer is 3 now? I mean, I just find it ridiculous that these skills are literally swappable on almost every single type of weapon and playstyle we can think of. But offensive guard, which is firstly limited to only 3. It's limited to 3 slots, level 3 slot. But then it's only limited to weapons with a shield. So that already takes away a lot of weapons. And not only that, some weapons like, well, Sword and Shield can make more use of it now because of Matsu, but for example in World you really couldn't because the shield is so weak that you're gonna get knocked from everything. And by the time you get back on your feet, offensive guard's over. So a skill that requires that much setup on only a couple of specific weapons is a level 3. But these skills, level 2. I mean, and in World, Crit Eye was a level 1 skill, dude. Come on. I'm tired of this meta of crit. But once again, I need to use it because I can spend triple the time, literally triple the time, on a hunt. Because everything else sucks in comparison. So I really hope they tweak this. As I said, get rid of weakness exploit. That would mean the world. That would be amazing. Or change weakness exploit to something that's not affinity based. I heard, I'm not sure, but I heard that weakness exploit was changed to affinity when Ichinose became part of the team. Before that, it was just a damage boost to weak parts, but then he made it affinity. Something like that would be perfect, man. Just stop making crit the only meta. Or the only viable meta that will get you decently fast hunts. But anyway, those were all of them, and god, this has been going on for so long. Man, I really need a skill that I need to learn. I either need to script my videos, or just learn how not to talk as much. This shit is 1 hour and something, man. I could have taken like 5 minutes for each, but yeah, I really need to get better on that. Either script videos or just become better at talking and quicker at pointing my facts. But in either case, that was it. The things I want for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. I will be covering it, as I said. I probably will do on PC because I don't even know how capture card works on Switch, and I want to play at 60 FPS. Especially lately, I've been dabbling in Iceborne again, and god, it's a world of difference. The game feels like it plays better, as in the actual gameplay. It definitely does because of FPSs. So probably on PC, that's where I will be covering it. But even before the actual game, I'll be covering news. Tomorrow's the Tokyo Game Show. They will announce more Rise, Stories 2, and Sunbreak info. So I'll definitely catch that. It will be at work, but I can watch at work. That's not an issue. And hopefully I'll bring you the content tomorrow. covering if they put anything interesting out, of course. But they probably will. I hope so. But anyway, that's it. This video has been long enough. My throat is hurting. And I will get out of here. And yeah, hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully it was interesting. Some of the changes I mentioned. And I'm pretty sure some people think the same as me. Some of these changes, they need to happen. And as I said, I really hope Sunbreak brings all we want and hope for. I really think they have the potential to do something special with this update. With this expansion, in fact. But anyway, I will catch you next time. Peace.